Hello, folks. Good morning, good evening, depending on, or good tomorrow if you're on the other side of the world. I've been postponing this stream by about 40 minutes because of Jeff's on Legal Voices, his live stream with Solomon Anderson. But they seem to be drawing to an end. So I thought, well, now I can finally start. What are we talking about today? We are talking about an experiment I want to conduct with you guys. It is watching a trial in reverse. And why do I want to do that? Well, when we have normally in a trial, you have the opening statement, you have all the witnesses, you have all the evidence and testimony and mumble jumble, then it's closing argument, and then we wait for sentencing. But we always watch it evolve from opening to end. But I wanted to do this by going the opposite direction, by listening to the verdict, how the verdict actually went, then listening to the closing arguments, because then we can see, okay, why didn't the jury believe that? Did the defense do a good job? Did they poke some holes? Stuff like that. Then we go into listening to the evidence and the testimony to see, does it really reflect what they said in closing? And then finally, this will be a multiple day stream. So today we will be doing the verdict and the closing arguments. And tomorrow we will follow up. Tomorrow is Thursday, Friday. We are going through the testimony and the evidence. And then on Saturday, opening statements. And then we will have a discussion on, okay, how did this evolve from the opening statement? How much did the prosecution and the defense have to change on the duration of the trial? I think that will be very, very interesting. I see that we have Sarah P is here and Iris is here. Hello, Kim, Linda Valentin, Indigo Luna. Well, there's not many here, and I, of course, understand many of my subscribers are also Jeff's audience, so to speak. Oh, hi, David. Yeah. Do you have time? I can send you a link if you want to come on and have this with me. And yeah. Sol has their intention on Jeff's stream. Yeah, I understand. And I understand if you dual watch and stuff like that. Yeah, so I told you the reason. And now, of course, a bit of not the obligatory, which I could, but really work is in. Yeah, work has an effect on doing things we like. Maybe another day, but good to have you in the chat. Let's see, first a little grifting. Getlawcards.com/Niklas. That is where law cards are trading cards, collector's cards from your favorite law tubers. We have Jeff is there, Nick Ricada is on them, and I believe I have a law card now as well. So go into this link, look for it, and see if there is something there that you would like. The audacity of these bosses. Yeah, they can... how rude of your work to get in the way of your streaming. Yeah. I'll be in the chat. I want to watch this trial in reverse. Yeah, I think this will be really, really interesting. And also, if you want to support, you can go on Twitter, follow me there. You have PayPal in the description below, and also a link where you can become a member. And so that will be the members of this channel is $3 a month. And thanks to my members, I've been able to upgrade to StreamYard Plus. I've been upgrading to Canva Plus, where I do these headers and thumbnails and stuff like that. Makes it a lot easier, and I have a dedicated internet to this channel now. So everything that goes into the members that I get from the members, I believe we are about 120, and YouTube takes a cut of it, but what I get from the members is what I can put in. This will be interesting. Yes, I agree, Mads. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. But enough with the grift, and well, of course, I humbly accept super chats. Humbly. I would prefer if you gave it to the Zachariah Anderson Gives and Go, but if you must, I'll gladly accept. Now, this trial that we will be watching is the OnlyFans Stalker trial. Mauricio Guerrero, and we will start with the sentencing. Oh, does that mean I'm smarter than David? Probably not. Yeah, so this is OnlyFans stalker Mauricio Guerrero. Where's my... There. If you're wondering why my the sound in the background is my cat trying to get into my office, and I'm not in the mood of getting my legs being used as scratch poles. So that's why he is on the other side of the door. You can probably hear him screaming at me as well. He has been fed, he's been outside, he has access to everything, including destroying my couch. So he is okay. He is okay. But let's start with the sentencing. The sound is a bit sketchy. I will try to do something about it. But we will hear what it is all about. So let's start there.
Right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Foreperson, it is my understanding that the jury has reached unanimous verdicts on all of the charges before it. Is that correct? That's correct. So at this time, what I'm going to do is ask the clerk to take the verdicts from you orally here in court. What she'll do, you have the verdict form in front of you. She'll track the verdict form and ask you what your verdict is after each charge. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Judge. Sir, is to charge ID number 1948114C, charging the defendant with burglary on or between February 7 to 9, 2022. How does the jury find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Is that the verdict of all of you? Thank you. Moving on then to the second charge ID number 1948115C, charging the defendant with burglary on or between February 7 to 9, 2022. A second time, how does the jury find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Is that the verdict of all of you? And given that you found a not guilty as to that, how say you on the lesser included offense of criminal trespass, does the jury find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Is that the verdict of all of you? And moving on to charge ID number 1977910C, charging the defendant with burglary on or between February 7 to 9, 2022, a third time. How does the jury find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
So that's a verdict of all of you. Having found the defendant not guilty of that, how say you on the lesser included offense of criminal trespass? Do you find the defendant, does the jury find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
So that's a verdict of all of you. Moving on to charge ID number 1948138C, charging the defendant with burglary on or between February 7 to 9, 2022, a fourth time. How does the jury find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Is that the verdict of all of you? Moving on to charge ID number 1977940C, charging the defendant with criminal trespass on or between the first and last days of January 2022. How does the jury find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Is that the verdict of all of you? As to charge ID number 1992047C, charging the defendant with invasion of privacy, parentheses, viewing, on or between February 8 to 9, 2022. How does the jury find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Is that the verdict of all of you? And finally, as to charge ID number 1992047C,
Darn it. Yesterday I managed 2 hours before a boomer moment. Now roughly 10 minutes. As I explained in the beginning, the rough thing about my we are streaming Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Today we will be streaming the sentence and the closing argument. So we will go in reverse. That is to see how did normally the trial, when we watch it from beginning to end, and then we might forget what was the opening and stuff like that. And this is to train ourselves with how did we get there and where did we actually start. So we start with the sentencing. We then find out, okay, why he was guilty of that, but not guilty of that. Then we will hear the closing arguments. And then we can see, okay, they didn't believe that. Maybe the defense did a great job in pointing out something like that. So that will be today. Tomorrow, we will start listening to testimony and evidence. That will be Thursday and Friday. I believe we can manage doing that. And then on Saturday, we will be doing opening statements. Then we can have a discussion. Okay, how much of the opening statement really went on during durations? How much did the defense and prosecution have to change? So, yeah. I have to say that one of the most things about criminal prosecution is how many counts did this guy have? 7 counts. We will go through them. But let's continue here.
2048C, charging the defendant with invasion of privacy, parentheses, recording, on or between February 8 to 9, 2022. How does the jury find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Is that the verdict of all of you?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You may be seated.
All right, thank you, Mr. Guerrero. You can be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your service in this case. You are discharged. You are free to leave the courthouse if you wish. However, I would like to thank you personally. You're not obligated to stay in the deliberation room, but I will be around in a few minutes to address you before you leave, just to thank you for your service. All right, but again, you're not obligated to stay. Probably seen enough of me at this point. And so thank you very much.
Please rise.
And so the next matter is to schedule sentencing on the guilty verdicts. Since they are felonies, is the defense requesting a pre-sentence investigation?
No, Your Honor.
State, do you wish to have that? And how much time do you think you need to prepare for sentencing? And then we'll talk about how long you think the sentencing hearing will take.
Well, this last part here is not really interesting. Oh, let's go there. And I saw Matt's guilty of 3 times criminal trespass and 1 invasion of privacy. Well, there was 7 counts. He was found guilty of 2 counts of burglary, 3 counts of criminal trespassing, because they found him not guilty of burglary in those. Invasion of privacy, not guilty, but guilty of illegal recording. That is what I got from this, but all feel free to correct me on this. So the jury obviously didn't believe that there was evidence enough for most of the burglary charges. And that is really interesting, that they then found him guilty of trespassing, criminal trespass, but not burglary. So it will be interesting to see what differentiated the 2 counts he was with the 3 he wasn't. And the invasion of privacy and illegal recording. So I have not seen this trial, but now I know the result. So this will be really interesting for me to see, okay, why not all of it? What happened? Stuff like that. So I will be, this is fun. This is so fun. And I got a bit of a peek in viewers. Thank you for showing up. And yeah, we are doing trial in reverse. We'll go from sentencing. Today we watched the sentencing. We will go through the closing arguments from both the prosecution and the defense. Tomorrow we will start with case in chief. There we will go in normal order with from start to finish of the state's case in chief and the defense case in chief, if there is any. I have no idea. And hi, Bill Marie. Good to see you. Good to see you. Too late for spoiler alerts. Yeah, this is fun because now. Yeah, we know the result. Now it will be interesting to see how we got there. Let's see here. Bum, bum, bum. I hope I got it right. Bum, bum, bum. And cover that up. And let's listen to the closing arguments.
Arguments of counsel, the defense does go first, followed by the state. You'll also notice that your notebooks are not in your chair.
Okay, interesting. The defense goes first, and then the prosecution. In my mind, it should be the other way around, because since the prosecution, it's like in the case in chief, you don't start with the defense, you start with the prosecution's case. Then you should also, in closing, start with the prosecution and then have the defense trying to either rebut or, well, doing their closing. I can see the reasons why the prosecution might want to try to rebut the defense close, but I do believe switching from defense first to and then prosecution last, I believe that is fundamentally wrong. But that's where we are, and in this case. let's see here, in Michigan, for there to be stalking, it must be 2 or 3 consecutive acts. So you cannot charge with 2 or 3 separate acts. But they try. Wondering if they are doing that here. No, there's actually no stalking in this case. It is burglary, burglary, invasion of privacy, recording of illegal recording. So there are, yeah. Let's continue.
Allow note taking during the closing arguments. Your notes will be returned to you for deliberation. Attorney Starbranch.
Thank you. Good afternoon. And we all know a lot more about OnlyFans now, don't we? One thing you can say for sure is probably not the best place to find your first. And I don't even make light of it because it's sad. You know, this is not, again, as I said, the way to find your first. But as I said in the beginning when I first saw you guys, this case is really about intent. There's really no question that Mauricio went into the house, no question. Also no question that Rachel News's mother had no idea that any of this was going on. In fact, you probably all saw Rachel News's mother get the bad news that her daughter was having sex with Mauricio outside the front door right before this happened. It was first she heard it was in front of you folks, which is really too bad. She had no idea what was going on. But she was the only one that didn't, because Rachel.
What does that has to do with something? Who cares what the mother knows or doesn't know? She is not part of the case. Huh.
Was involved with the end. And the thing is, Mauricio's intent, and this is what's going to drive this. Mauricio's intent, his conscious object, his specific intent is to commit 2 crimes of crimes, either theft or invasion of privacy. So really what this comes down to is what his intent is. And actually listening to all this, and honestly, Attorney Guerrero doesn't be very interesting. He at one point said, do you even know what you're doing there? And that's a good question. Probably not. And that's the gist of this case. You know, this isn't a burglary that's going to commit a crime of theft. This is not your traditional economic burglary. And you know that because of the way he behaves. He gets in there. You know, the possibilities of what his intent might be, we'll see. It could be retrieving his fireplace or his TV set. It could be retrieving his glasses, his belt, his beanie. It could be eating graham crackers, probably not. The most likely reason he's in there, it's almost like he's moved in there. I mean, think about this. He's got set up in the attic, you know, he's got food, got a place to go to the bathroom. He's even made himself a key. Now, isn't that the darndest thing? Who's heard of a burglar? Goes in, makes himself a key, comes and goes, throughout the day 5 times. You know, and this is the gist of this case. This is a very confused young man, completely confused. And you know, you see him.
Okay, so their theory seems to be that he came and went 5 times, and therefore 5 times burglary. Well, we do know that he was guilty of 2, but then only criminal trespassing on 3 of them. How did they get to that? Which 2 was actual burglaries? Interesting. Okay.
Testify. He's not really, I don't want to be unkind, doesn't appear to be the most intelligent man. But he's young, hard to say this, because at his age, it's hard to tell how young he is. He's young, he's inexperienced, he's insecure. And when you think about the way he talks about himself, you know, he starts out when he talks to one of us, I say, well, you know, I'm online with OnlyFans. I mean, this woman because I don't really get out much. I'm not very good looking. I'm not very interesting. No one really wants to be with me. He found someone who wanted to be with him. But what he didn't know was that it wasn't really his girlfriend. What he didn't know is he was a customer. You know, this is the thing that alluded him. This is why there's a tragedy. He didn't really get that he was a customer. He thinks he's in love. Well, and she tells him, well, yes, I love you. absolutely, you know, I love you, I want to engage with you, but, you know, the fact is, she's selling content. That's her job. And I'm not disparaging her. Everyone needs a job, perfectly legal, what she's doing. The problem is, she manipulates her and creates, and remember, her job description basically is fantasy. You know, however it might be, whatever, you know, the client may be interested in, that's what she tries to accommodate. That's what she tries to pander to. Because, you know, let's face it, if you're a content provider, you're in the business of selling your content, it behooves you to, you know, get the idea of what the client wants, the customer wants, and to cater to that, to pander to it. You know,
Well, I do understand the argument, but content creator, it's a bit different because yes, I'm trying to sell you my content, and I do involve the word F occasionally, but not literally, I believe. If any of you think so, yeah, that's no, I have no intention of making any, yeah. Confusion could be a good defense. Well, we know the result, so yeah, let's continue.
and this is the problem with this case, is that he doesn't understand that this is a game. He thinks the fantasy is something that she shares and enjoys with him. It does not. You know, this is all made up and contrived in her demeanor and her presentation to Mauricio. Okay? It's all a big fantasy. She knows it, he doesn't. She knows that he's a gay, because she works him. She works him like a pro. She works him and she keeps the money.
Yeah, maybe that's why we don't have any stalking in this trial. Maybe it was argued earlier pre-trial. No, don't go to my house, because if I haven't invited you, that could be unpleasant. Yeah, I hardly get visits from family, so because of the renovations. But yeah, no, don't come uninvited to my place. Things will get ugly.
Coming, she keeps the gifts coming, and she, frankly, you know, keeps him interested, keeps him involved. You know, the relationship is bizarre, it's fantastic, it's toxic. There's a real disparity between the position of control and power in this relationship. She's completely in control. She's older than he is, much more sophisticated than he is. Just look what she does for a living. She's used to dealing with people and their fantasies. You know, he's 20 years old. He's young. He's immature. He's insecure, to say the least. You know, his self-esteem, frankly, is less than zero. In fact, you see, he does a lot of groveling when she, you know, threatens to leave him and not be with him.
Yeah.
He, you know, sometimes he even begs. Other times,
I don't have any guns.
he says, you know, I've had
But,
it. He tries to break away from her.
I'm a farmer.
More than once,
I have farms.
he says, you know, they would block each other and then unblock each other. You know, she knows what she's doing. You know, all you have to do is block somebody and continue to stay blocked. But yet, somehow, miraculously, she unblocks him. Now, when he does it and cuts off communication, she attempts to get around that by phone calls, by FaceTimes, things like that. And when that doesn't work, she calls her friends to facilitate her being able to reconnect with Mauricio. So even though at some point he has the wherewithal to say, you know, this is something's wrong with me.
Okay, that was really interesting. So that definitely takes away any kind of stalking if she is actively reaching out to him. That sounds like a weird OnlyFans strategy. Unless he was giving her a whole lot of money and she was give me more money. But I don't know. I haven't heard any testimony. I'm listening to the closing statement from the defense. It will be interesting to see how this occurred with the phone calls, and yeah, interesting, really interesting.
This isn't for me. I don't want to pursue this relationship. It's not. Maybe the light bulb's going off in his head at one point, saying, "Wait a minute, does she really love me when she says that? She tells me she loves me. Is that true, or am I just a customer?" You know, part of the sales going through his head. Well, you know, is he tries. She won't have it. She won't have it because this is her business. He's your customer. He's good for some money. He's good for money down the road. It's not, you know, the money train didn't show any signs of slowing up, you know, and that's frankly, you know, what she's into. She's all the power in the relationship, and she calls the shots. The fantasy business about stalking and things like that, you know, you can't make this kind of stuff up. You really can't. You know, had there been no, if it was just Mauricio up there saying, well, yeah, she wanted me to stalk her, you'd wonder, well, you got to be out of your mind. Who wants to be stalked? She hadn't said it. You know, we would all have a different case here. You know, the funny thing is, as I told you before, there's largely an agreement about what happened. The question is, what does it mean? You know, largely everyone's in agreement. You know, some of the, and a lot of it came out on witness stand when I was speaking to Rachel and things that she.
Oh, did he testify? Oh, okay. Slight alterations for tomorrow. We will start with his testimony, and then we will go back in here because sorry, that will be interesting. So he took the stand. Interesting. That will be interesting.
She said to him during this interview that she gave. One of the quotes I want to do directly for her is she messed with his head. She says that. She wants to have him obsessed with her. She says that too. She wants him to behave like that. She wants him to follow her. She says these things. She admitted it. And, you know, the thing is, she probably didn't really know that. She was just telling him that. Because that's what she does. That's her job. That's her job. She strung him along. There's another quote I'd like to throw out there. She led him on. And probably the biggest problem with all this is she keeps telling him that she loves him. That's the biggest and probably the unkindest thing about this. You know, there's a relationship here, there's no question about it, but it's not love. You know, the tragedy is that she knows it, he does not. She knows it, he does not. He was deceived, and he couldn't form the intent that the state thinks you should find him guilty of. He can't form the intent because he didn't have the facts. He didn't have the facts. He didn't realize that this wasn't wanted. She was telling him it was. He's ready to believe it because this is all he has. He has no other relationship. This is his first one. He's ready to believe her when she tells him that. The difference between a trespass and burglary is really intent. The question is, what was his intent when he goes in that house? You can look at a number of different things. I suggest you look at everything. You know, like I said, he talks about going in to get his glasses, stuff like that, the TV set, stuff like that. The fact is, Tate's absolutely right. He really doesn't make any effort whatsoever. And that's because his intent really is to live there and stay there and be close to the object of his desire. He wants to be with her. And it's comforting to him that she's right downstairs. You know, he's in and out of that. It's almost like he's sold himself that this is a relationship and he's a roommate. You know, he makes himself a key. You know, he's not charged with doing that, but that's really what this is about. He wants access to Rachel. Okay? You know, could have been charged as you know, enter with the purpose of the crime of stalking. The fact is, she's told him that she wishes to be stalked. This is part of the game that they play. This in order to find him guilty of burglary, you have to find his conscious object, his specific intent is to commit the crime of theft or to commit the crime of evasion of privacy. Trespass is a little bit different. Trespass, in order for him to commit the trespass, he has to be aware that he's not supposed to be there. That is more of a fit because, as I said to you folks before, Richard's mother wasn't in on it. You know, Rachel was, not her mom. What's interesting about this case is Rachel told him before that if you don't get out of here, we call the cops. She said that more than once. She said that on the evening that Mauricio encountered the police. Remember, she actually texted. Now, this is a woman who says, I'm terrified, terrified, terrified. But the fact is, she says in a text message, are you here? If you're here, you get out of here. I'm going to call the cops. I know you're here. I know you're here. She's not spending time on 911 saying, help me, help me, help me. She's saying, get out of here. She said, get out of here. And if he had, he may not be here because this is a cycle with her. She says, get out of here, get out of here, get out of here. If he had gotten out of here, as long as we got to Pennsylvania, odds are that the next text he would have gotten was, I changed my mind. I love you. I want you to come back. Because he does that. Attorney Garrard talks about, well, all this stuff, it's not in writing. It's just stalking game, it's not in writing. Actually, it is. There are some things that aren't right. Remember, when he's there in December, and
This is weird. If there is actual text messages with her saying she wants a stalking game. This is weird. This is really weird. There are maybe a handful of cases worldwide where someone actually moved into an attic or something like that, which was extremely uncomfortable for that victim. But in this closing argument, now this is the defense closing argument. It's not evidence. It's just very, very weird. I can't wait to see that part of the trial where these actual if he's telling the text messages or phone calls as they were, or if he's doing some innuendo things. And we still have the prosecution's closing argument. So they might go, no, nada, niche. But this is really weird, isn't it?
she finds him there and she yells at him and says, get out of here, get out of here, get out of here. On the way back, she writes to him saying, I didn't mean I miss you. I do want to see you. I wish you were here. I love you. The next day, she says, I don't want you to ever come up here unannounced again, but it was a little hot. It was a little hot. That's a difficult thing to reconcile with, she's a victim of stalking. She cultivated the stalking story. This is part of the fantasy that they were playing together. And again, like I said, the problem is that he doesn't know it. This is something she's contrived.
You could just have moved into his attic. What were you thinking, Mo?
But again, Rachel's mother wasn't knowing. Rachel knew these lies repeatedly. Mauricio isn't truthful with kids either. That's not entirely a shock. Here's this, young man who really doesn't have a lot of experience with anything. He's 20, first girlfriend, and all of a sudden he's in an interview room with all kinds of police.
Are you available, Mo? I mean, for stream? Should I send you a link? We can have a lot of sarcastic fun with this trial. David's, but he has work. You know what? I'm going to send Mo a link, and she can choose if she wants to come on or not. Hold on. Don't I follow you on Twitter? I thought I had you as a friend on Twitter. Aren't you on Twitter, Mo? Let's see if I can find you. No, I'm not stalking Mo. Yeah, I can't find you on Twitter. Reach out to me so I can send you a link. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. No, darn it. Of course, chat, you want Mo in here. So reach out to me. Maybe David can. David, if you are still in the chat, you are connected with Mo, so you can send her. Send her the link. I sent it to David, so he can send it to you, Mo. Or you can try to reach out to me on Twitter or something like that. Yeah. Where were we? There.
Well, he didn't want to say, well, my girlfriend wants me to stalk her. What a shock. You know, that he didn't want to tell the police that. Some things were absolutely true. He is stuck there. Well, I could be there and get my stuff.
We are on Twitter.
The last thing he wants to do is tell these big guys I'm me and my girlfriend are OnlyFans. I'm engaged in this weird stuff. You know, that didn't come up when he was talking to him, even though that's what it's about. It's not about TV sets. It's not about fireplaces. It's not about graham crackers. You know, it's about this fixation he has with her that she's invited. It's not just, you know, if you want to talk about who's lying to who, you know that frankly she's concealing this with possibly the end of, well, you know, maybe he'll go away and I won't have to talk to him too. Because the first thing she does on this evening is lie to the dispatcher, and this is what she does. You know, after she gives me a chance, you know, get out of there, because, you know, she's texting him saying, look, you know, you got to get out of here, call the cops. I'm not kidding. Then, and only then, she goes into her mother's room and says, you know, I think I saw somebody. Now, she knows who it is. She's
Mo, you have to follow me back so I can send you a link, or you can. My Twitter DM should be open to you, so you can just shout out to me, and I can send you the link if you don't have it. If David hasn't, if David hasn't sent you, otherwise, I will keep that there, and we can still listen here.
talking to him. She saw him. She knows who it is. She didn't tell mom that. She said, well, I think I saw somebody, you know, it might be a problem. So, you know, mom listens and says, well, that might be a raccoon. So Rachel decides she's going to be told. By the way, we listened to the 911 tape. She's not scared even slightly. And when she doesn't say the 911 operator, I know who it is. I know what he's doing. I know where he lives. I know his name. None of that. She says, yeah, I think he might be upstairs. It might be a raccoon. She knows full well it's not me. The next thing she does is lie to Sergeant LaFave. Very next thing, Sergeant LaFave is here. One of the protocols, as you heard from Sergeant LaFave, one of the protocols is, well, we have to screen out a domestic violence potential. I asked her if there's a physical relationship, because that would make a domestic violence issue. That's her job. That's what Sergeant LaFave is supposed to do. And what does Rachel Newman say? Physical relationship? Nope. That didn't happen. Flat out lie. She lies to her mother. She doesn't tell her mother, you know, that, you know, I didn't tell you this, mother. Just 5-6 hours ago, we were having sex in his truck. Must have forgot to tell her mother. She find her mother. I told her about it. I wish I didn't have to.
Wait. They had sex? Wow. Okay. Wow. So this OnlyFans girl, allegedly, because I haven't seen the evidence and testimony yet, gets money from this guy, wants stalkerish behavior, and she has sex with him. This, according to the defense, very young, insecure guy. Yeah. Yeah, I have a term for that. I'm not comfortable with saying it. Yeah, she's okay. This is huh. But this is the defense closing. There is a lot of trial left and prosecution's closing and stuff like that. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Huh.
That's when she finds out. You know, Mauricio is being unforthcoming with the police because he's embarrassed. She's she's flat out lying to everybody to conceal the level of her involvement with him, to conceal it. So she doesn't have to admit that. She's like, as she told you, as she told the interviewer, that she led him on, that she told him that she wanted him to behave and follow her like that she wants him to be obsessed with her, that she strung along, led him on, all these things. She doesn't want to tell anybody this. You know, not surprising. It's not pretty. But that's what her motive is. Her motive is to get out as quickly as possible. Frankly, the reason he's being less than forthcoming is that, you know, he's embarrassed. And think about that for a second. That makes sense, doesn't it? You know, when you think about this, this is the love of his life, his first girlfriend. And he's going to tell these police officers that, yeah, we've been on OnlyFans, and you know, we have sex once, twice now, and you know, that's nothing that he's actually can tell them. And he has reason to be there beyond the stalking game, beyond the game itself. I think the line of the trial was when Attorney Guerrero was cross-examining Mauricio. She was trying, and you know, the interesting thing about the direct cross is it was exactly the same. He takes a long time. He's sort of plodding, sort of pedantic, takes his time, loses his train of thought, starts to cry. He's the same way with Attorney Guerrero that he was with me. That's how he is. That's what he does. So when this is going on, Attorney Guerrero is trying to get him to say, well, what were you doing in there? And they're going, was it the fireplace? Was it the graham crackers? Was it the TV set? And at one point she says, and this is perfect, she says, you weren't thinking at all, were you? That's for sure. And he says, yeah, not thinking at all. Not even a little bit. He is moving in there. And one of the other telling points in this trial was when he says, well, I got some stuff and then I went up to my room. And you may remember, because it was a kind of shock. I actually said, did you say your room? You know, it's an odd thing to say, but not when you think about it. Not when you think about it. He was looking at it in his room. It is confused, sad, sex out of mind. You know, he believes that she's his girlfriend and he wants to be close to her. That's his purpose. That's his conscious object, is to go back up to his room until it all blows over and he can be with Rachel again. That's what he meant. That was his object. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your attention. Has been a lot of fun listening to about the OnlyFans stuff, but I appreciate you've done that. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Guerrero?
Okay, so that was the defense closing argument. That was strange. Okay, I have to send Mo the link via email. That's why she isn't here yet. Because Twitter is being well, she uses colorful language. I will not repeat what she told me about there. Send. Okay, Mo, you have I sent, I hope, to the correct address. If it isn't the correct address, we might have a surprise guest. Well, what did you think about the defense closing? It was quite short, but very concise. There was very interesting about her leading him on, getting more money. This is through the defense closing, so I don't know how well he represents the evidence. We need to acknowledge that. It was here she is. Hi Mo.
Hello.
Hello. Did you miss the parts of the defense closing argument?
No, I think I got the point where he thought that she invited him to live in her attic, as you do.
Yeah, and
You know,
yeah, as you do, courting.
eh, hey, I haven't dated in nearly 13 years, so I have no idea. Maybe that's what you kids do now.
I have no idea. I haven't really dated in my entire life.
So I
That's
told Mr. Mo about you and your significant other's kind of arrangement,
yeah,
and yet he still refuses to let me buy my own condo and live away from all the noise.
that's unfair.
I know. I told him, I was like, "But then I'll be happy, and you want me to be I'll just make it I'll make a fort in the attic."
Yeah, with a bucket too. Yeah, and apparently other stuff.
What? Look, there is something you cannot deal with crazy. I don't know. I know Broken wants to get with all the crazy, but you cannot fix crazy. Don't
No,
try.
no, it's like Ron White, Texas comedian, says there's no, you can't cure stupid, and you can't cure crazy, really. Well, there are
No,
some pills you can have against crazy, but yeah,
yeah, no magical appendage is going to fix it. Either way, either or.
mm, yeah.
All
Don't
of humanity.
don't stick your thing in crazy. It's hard not to because it's fun, but yeah, it really is a not long term. What can I say? I've been alive a very long time, and I might have happened once or twice.
Okay, nothing parties like a rental. You can rent crazy for a while, but don't date and or marry it.
No, look at Letitia Stalk. That's yeah.
Holy good lord, that woman. Uh, I have never been closer to wanting to repeal the 19th Amendment than her phone calls. It's like, we can't be trusted. Take it away from us.
There
It's
should
a
be a gender diversion of the amendments,
no, there
maybe.
should just be a common civil or civics class, do you believe we live in a republic? Yes, you can vote. Do you think we're a democracy? Yes, well, then you can't vote.
Oh,
I'm all for an IQ test before voting. I don't care so much about ID. I just want to know
mm,
if you know
uh,
basic civics.
you don't need more than 5 attempts to put in the envelope, and yeah.
Just a little bit. I just need
Mm.
a little bit. My mom always gets mad when I say that. I'm like, it's a joke, woman. It's a
Mm,
joke. And that's Cheddar in the cat hole chair.
mm. Jingles is outside of my door and trying to get in, but I'm not in the mood of having my legs bloodied up, so he will remain out there.
Well, Thor is the white cat hole that likes to walk on there. So I finally made them their own station and they can stay there if they're good.
Okay. I try to have things for this for my cat hole, and some things aren't even fun. Not even the box. It just stares at it. Just what am I supposed to do with this?
I am fully aware that they are my furry overlords and they will eat me as soon as I die.
Mm,
Which is why I want to come back as a cat. I don't
mm.
generally like a lot of crowded people. I want to be given affection when I feel like it, and then I want you to leave me the hell alone every other minute.
Yeah, I discovered that, or my sister mentioned it that he he's not scratching my legs to inflict pain. He's tenderizing my legs for eating.
Uh, I have I have no like grand hopes that they're actually going to keep. Okay, fine. Yes, I love you very much too.
Oh, you have a cuddly cat. I don't.
I Yeah, well,
I
sometimes it's really she's not usually the cuddly one, but when I'm the only option there is,
mm.
then she comes to me.
Oh, pat, pat, pat. Good kitten. Yeah.
Not the mic.
But it's colorful.
Yeah, my husband, I got it on a marketplace deal for $20, and he was like, "Did you look at the stats for it?" And I was like, "But it lights up." He's like, "So you didn't make sure it was a good one?" I was like, "I don't know, it works."
Yeah. It's like when I take my sister's car shopping. What kind of a car do you want? Red. Um,
Makes sense to me.
yeah. Um, I have a few more. Well, at least. Do you want to drive fast, or do you want to have lots of kids in it, or do you want to have
These are
red?
like, just, don't that's what I tell my husband, I'm like, "Don't just tell me what the flux capacitor needs. Are we going 88 miles an hour?" I don't just tell me because now he's on a kick where, "Ooh, we can get a new computer," and all I can see is the rainbow light up things, and he's trying to tell me the gigawatts it uses. He's like, "It's not a just stop it." I was like, "You saw the ride and bought the ticket. I don't know you're stuck with me."
Yeah, he knew what he was in for. You warned him. Yeah.
I I did not f that was the weird thing about our courtship, apart from not living in the attic, is that we
Mm.
were both very honest with the sort of crazy baggage that we had.
Mm.
I believe my first email to him was, "Get your running shoes ready." So we were both very honest about, like, "Okay, this our lives have been interesting thus far."
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, same with my significant other. Now, she grabbed me, and she's a few years older than me, so it's baby snatching. Uh, and I couldn't run fast enough, and well, now, yeah, but I'm not really complaining.
Yeah, that's, my husband is actually, I was too young, he had put, in his profile, and yeah, he's 9 years older than me, so I always ask him, like, "What was it like when the dinosaurs were here?" And did you guys really react weirdly to, colored
Yes.
television? He is
Yeah.
not amused. For some reason, I have no idea why.
Yeah, that's strange. That's strange. And
It's
just
yeah.
for a fact, my first TV was black and white. Um, but that was more a budget more than it wasn't around. I'm not that old. I'm not that old.
Yeah, I always whenever an AARP thing comes or those, tubs that you can get in and out of, the joke's on me because now I'm the one that has to walk with a limp, and I'm looking
Mm.
at those bathtubs like, "That's really comfy looking."
Yeah,
I I
yeah.
have
When I,
moved directly into get off my lawn old lady vibes
Mm.
already.
I have told my entire family and the neighbors that when I retire, you will see me on my front porch with a cigar, something to drink, yelling at things. And I will
That
do that until the day I die.
that's pretty much all I want, is to one day be able to tell one of these damn kids to get off my lawn.
Your own kids too?
Ugh. I love all of my children, but they're all interesting in different ways, and my youngest, most feral, had he been the first, we would have one child.
Mm. Oh, okay, 12. Okay, do we have a competition? Mine is 6 years older, and yours is 9 years older. Teresa Moyers
She
is 12
wins.
years older. Yeah, she wins. She wins. As long as you don't write, my wife was 25 when we met, then it's okay to have a 12-year older wife.
Yeah, okay, so the meanest thing I ever said, and I honestly didn't mean for it to be mean, but, my husband's, ex is sort of a Letitia, and you just get into this thing where it's that high-pitched buzzing and you're just trying to protect yourself. So, she brought up something in their marriage, and I said, "I don't care. I don't know what happened. I was in middle school." And my husband was laughing his nuts off because and I was like, "Crap, I didn't mean it for," like, I wanted to intentionally say something mean, not unintentionally. I'm not on her Christmas card list. I have no idea why.
Oh. Oh, well,
In my
shall
defense, she was like Letitia, though, on the phone, that high-pitched squealing that
mm,
hurts dogs and children.
mm. Well, we have listened to the defense closing, and so far, my instinct, just by this, says, why was he convicted of anything?
Well, I guess
Almost.
my other thing is, according to the defense, she knew and slept with a man that was living in her attic, and she actively wanted this sort of, I don't know, stalker
Po-
relationship in his mind, or she fed into, I
This
don't
is
know.
really strange, but now let's listen to what the prosecution has to say in their closing. Maybe we will get some answers here and maybe some timeline and other
Yeah,
things.
because I like this whole inception of going backwards, but then it's also like, what the hell are they talking? You lived in the attic? Are you what?
Yeah, yeah. This it's already strange.
That's kind of where I am.
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't understand how y'all date anymore. I, in fact, got married so I'd never have to date again.
mm. Yeah, and I was abducted. No,
It was a
my
hostage situation that turned into a relationship. I tell my husband that all the time. I'm like, I'm sorry, you're stuck.
Mm. Yeah, but maybe our audience wants to continue
Oh,
with
sorry.
the trial. It's a trial watching channel, but
I
yeah,
I don't you
we will have
you
the
brought me
interesting
on, you
discussion.
know we can't stay on focus. This is a
Yeah,
terrible idea. Alright, let's
yeah,
start.
yep. Let's start. Yep.
Herding the cats. Hands across America, we are getting better audio and visual things for these damned courtrooms.
Why is the librarian going up to the podium?
Oh, she looks like her cats don't like her.
Defendant was a man assassin.
Microphone lady.
We must agree on it. But it's also very clear, looking at the evidence, there's nothing less than an unhealthy obsession that would lead someone to drive 350 miles for 5 hours to break into someone's house 4 times over the course of 3 days, sneaking in and out of their room, taking photos of their genitals, and urinating in a cup in the attic. And while the defendant can try to say that he thought in his mind that he and Rachel were together, give some sort of excuse, It was very clear, and it was very clear to him that that wasn't the case, that these feelings, whatever they were almost entirely one-sided. Yes, Rachel may have been saying things to lead you on, to make you think that they might have been in some sort of relationship, but the fact of the matter is that only one of them was sending gifts. Only one of them was leaving. Only one of them was driving to see the other one. The defendant didn't think that they were in a relationship, and he said as much to two different police officers who specifically asked him. He said, well, it was always this really kind of complicated, on again, off again thing. The defendant had a compulsion.
Well, at
to
least
be
once he
with
was
Rachel Loomis.
on.
The extremes that he went to, like breaking in, stealing her underwear, prying open her windows, were not done because it was something that he thought that she wanted. They were done because he had to feed his obsession with her and satisfy this compulsion to be around her and to be around her things, to know more about her, because he wasn't going to let something like her own free will stop him from being in her life. And we know that these break-ins learn some sort of game, stalking game that he keeps referring to. And we know that because in the hundreds of pages of text messages, it is never once referred to or mentioned. These break-ins were about the defendant trying to regain control over something that he could not control, that was out of his control. And that becomes clear when you consider what is going on in this relationship at the times that he's breaking into the house. On both January 20th and February 7th, the defendant broke into Rachel's home at a time when she had broken off contact with him. So let's look at those. We want to take that first break in January 20th, which I asked him about. Remember, at that point, he had come up to see Rachel 4 different times.
Do no
They come
lady
up on the
lawyers
6th,
have a
7th,
brush in
or-
their bag? I carry a brush in my bag, and I have this amount of hair.
I have a brush or a comb around me because if I don't, it gets tangled. And when it gets tangled, it's hell to get straight again.
Or you're in. I don't understand the sea of beige. I really don't. But I'm not a fashion person, so
Well, I'm currently in beige and white, so I can't say much about her choices. But I'm a guy. I'm not supposed to, I believe. But it's her choice. So far, I believe she's made interesting arguments. But yeah. After listening to the defense closing, only one person drove 350 miles. I mean, I live in Sweden. Everything is 350 miles apart. I mean,
I-
that's not a huge amount of a drive, is it?
well, I mean, I guess I'm waiting for the dumpster fire over the Grand Canyon that is their chats and their
Mm.
text messages, because I'm sure that's just going to be a train wreck that I want to see. So I'm waiting for her evidence, and maybe she's going to pull it up with a little clicker deal.
Yeah.
But I want to see, because from the defense I'm hearing it was just kind of one of their kinks. You do you. So what I have right now is just a defense, and I need the state to say, okay, well, she's definitely said, look, this is all, for money. I'm an OnlyFans chick. I'm not your girlfriend.
Mm.
I'm here for the money, or what have you.
Well, let's see if we get there. If we get it.
Let's see.
And he was turned away without any sort of face-to-face. He came up on December 12th, another unannounced visit, this time because he was concerned that she was going out to drink with her friends. Once again, he's turned away.
Let's see here. Oh, the timeline. Unannounced
Okay.
visit. Turned away with no face-to-face. Unannounced visit because he's concerned about her going out with her friends. Turned away with no face-to-face. December 21st, spent an hour and a half together. Had sex.
Okay.
January 10th, turned away for 3 days. Fought afterwards. Rachel blocks him, not speaking for days following. Defendant starts searching for burglary tools. Yeah, that might be an indication.
I said it on my Joel Guy Jr. Trial watch. Do not Amazon or Walmart your crime tools. What the actual?
Yeah. And let's see here. January 19th, 3 a.m. break-in in her barn. Photo.
She does poetry in her barn?
Break-in in her barn, photographing poetry. Unannounced visit, and Nazir tells Rachel he's here. There are
So
two. Yeah.
So I guess the 21st and 22nd, I'm wondering how him turning her or her turning him away twice ends up to them
Having
having
sex.
naked time together.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it was purely the oldest profession in the world and her bank balance changed, I'm confused. I have
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah. This OnlyFans thing. Yeah. I
And
don't. I've never been on OnlyFans. I have no really interest in it, but to my knowledge, that's just more or less tune in, look at someone doing sexy things, give money, turn off.
that
Not actually going there having intercourse of sorts.
yeah, that's not what I thought it was, but like I said, I only look for weird, Kindle books that people read and then torture Mr. Mo with the weirdness I find at 3 AM.
Well, I know drunk me likes to buy sober me presents from Wish, and yeah,
I
I,
keep
I
telling my husband, I was like, "Can I start drunk me buying stuff?" And he's like, "No, no, you can't." But I was like, "But this guy on the internet," he's, "No." I was like,
well,
"Just
it's,
no
it's quite
fun."
fun getting presents from yourself. It's very interesting. Uh, at least I have my 2 coats or jackets, and I have some cat toys, and
If you don't get a members only jacket for your members only streams, I will be upset.
yeah, I'm researching different shops and stuff like that. Those what you call it, print on demand
Oh,
thingies,
merch. Or
merch.
maybe.
Thank you, merch shop.
So
So yeah.
so she does poetry in the barn, or he took a photograph of his poetry in the barn, and yet he still doesn't tell her that he's there. I guess we're gonna have to go back and watch it. It just none of it really makes sense right now.
This is the timeline. Maybe she will tell us more about it, and the next couple of days we will see it in evidence. I assume.
Because right now, if he's a very socially awkward, and I am giving him the biggest of benefits of the doubts. If he is very socially awkward and this is, his first date, then or his first experience of anything, he could definitely have thought that this was a relationship, whereas she was being very transactional. So I can almost sort of see a situation where he, in all good faith, thought that he was a boyfriend, whereas she thought he was a financial helper. I don't.
It's weird.
What did we
Yeah,
do before the internet?
I can't remember.
No idea. Madge was right. ATM. I was trying to not say pay pig, but
Well, he can't be a sugar daddy because he's younger. But maybe I have no idea. This is all so strange to me.
thus far none of it makes sense, and I have a sinking feeling that even if we get to openings, it's not going to still make a lot of sense.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, let's see what Mrs. Page wants to say to us.
with no sort of face-to-face. On December 22nd, he comes up. They spend an hour and a half together and had sex. And then finally, on January 10th through the 13th, he comes up unannounced, and for 3 days, he makes efforts to try to see Rachel and get him to meet with her. And he leaves without getting any sort of face-to-face. And what do you have there? Well, we went through those text messages with the defendant. Despite it, this, we need to be done. This is too much for me. I want this to be over. And you have a break in them speaking, where she says, I'm blocking you now. And after he's turned away, after trying for 3 days to have any sort of contact with her, what is he doing 2 days after that while they're not talking? He's looking up burglary tools. He is looking up burglary tools because he's already planning to break into her house because she's cut off contact with him. On January 19th, she reaches out to him because she's concerned that he killed himself, but then says, now that I know you're okay, I'm gonna block you again, we can't be doing this. He says, okay, goodbye. After he says that, what does he do? He drives up to Somersworth and breaks in her back barn and comes and looks at her belongings. He does this because she had cut off contact with him and he was upset, and he needed to feed his obsession to be close to her and to be close to her things.
It was a dark and scary time. We used Post-it notes.
And this is sort of reflected in the nature of that burglary. Because he doesn't go into the house on that occasion and start stealing her underwear or things like that, which he does later on. But he rifles through her childhood memories. And he does this in an effort to feel closer to her. Very odd thing to do, right? What guy cares about poetry that a girl wrote when she was in 6th grade? Well, somebody that's clearly very obsessed with her that needs to get whatever he can. And that's what he's doing on that occasion. Going through her childhood memories because he is so desperate to be with her, he will take literally anything he can get. And then you have the time frame leading up to the burglaries in February. Again, what is happening at that time? They're not speaking. The defendant even told you from February 1st to the 8th, they had stopped all sort of contact. He comes up on February 7th. On February 7th, he's breaking in at 3 or 4 a.m. and again, of course, in the evening. The first contact they have in 7 days is after he reaches out to her and says, hey, sorry, I didn't mean to text you. To which she immediately responds with requests to FaceTime her because she's worried that he's there.
I thought she blocked him. How could he?
I can only assume that they're better at technology and can run a Twitter and Facebook all at the same time. I mean, I've heard tell people can do this.
Wow.
Not me,
I'm
but
ha- Yeah. I'm having issues looking at Miss Beige and the chat at the same time and manage to breathe simultaneously. That's my ability to multitask.
yeah, it doesn't make sense that she's again, I'm coming from the defense side. So if she is giving him these mixed signals, it doesn't excuse burglary, but it is a reasonable thing that if he's, say, very inept with women, that he doesn't recognize the difference between a transactional relationship and a relationship.
Yeah, but that's a bit from breaking in, unless there is something in the past with that I want you to stalk me things, and then he reads on the internet of sorts, what have stalkers done? Oh, and he finds an article that says this guy lived in the attic.
It's
don't know.
it's a weird expression of love. I'll have to tell Mr. Mo that I love him enough to live in the attic.
Mm, yeah. I, I have no direct sense of fashion, but I don't think beige is her color.
It really washes her out. It's almost her skin tone, so it's if
She's
you're
melting
glancing
into the
past it.
background, sort of.
Yeah, and being a walking talker, I wish they would just have a lapel mic for courtrooms, because half of the attorneys seem religiously against standing at the lectern or the podium.
Mm, yeah, really, really strange. What? Oh, sorry. Let's continue.
Again, in the context of this break-in, they are not together, they are not speaking, and he's upset about that. He needs to do what he needs to do in order to feel closer to Rachel. And he comes equipped with a plan. Literally a list of ways that he can feel close to her, to be in her life, to know what she's doing, because again, if she's not going to tell him of his own free will, he's going to do it without, and take things without her knowledge. Put a tracker on her car, put microphones and stuff to hear her. He wants to know exactly what she's doing, where she's going, and who she's talking to.
So
That was interesting. And still, there were no conviction of any stalking offenses.
so he did what they accused Zachariah of doing. For
Yeah,
reals.
yeah, and they didn't even have it as a conviction, as a This is strange, but this is New Hampshire. Maybe they actually like following the law.
You never know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm wearing beige. Thank you. It looks good against my red face here because I've been outside today and sun has that effect on me, that shrimp, boiled lobster kind of look.
Yeah, I
Mm.
don't tan. My kids do, but I have pale and lobster. Those are my
Yeah.
two choices.
Yeah, and if I find old photos, you can see that this grayish hair, this gray hair I have today, once upon a time was had some rat and a bit of red. Yeah, so I'm very glad I turned this gray actually, because the alternative, yeah, I will try to find one of my old photos sometimes, see if anything. Yeah.
All
This year there
right.
was invasion of privacy. Uh, I have to go back and look that again, because I thought I heard on the conviction stage that they had him not guilty of invasion of privacy, but guilty on illegal recording. But so I have to go back and listen to that. Maybe I got it wrong. I trust Mads. Mads is
S-
Danish, and since I don't understand their language, in writing they are good. And by the way, today is Norway's Independence Day, and so congratulations to Norway for breaking away from Sweden. We are, yeah, May 17th, and since Ian Runkle is of Norwegian heritage, congratulations on your ancestors breaking off from Sweden.
Norwegian and Elfish, right?
Yeah, Norwegian
Okay.
and Elvish. Yeah,
Sounds good.
yeah. Yeah, let's continue with Miss Beige here.
And not just a list, he comes with tools.
It was a mutual
He has looked
decision.
at lock-picking tools, and now he's bringing 2 different pry bars in order to break into her phone. And keep in mind, folks, that he had 5.5 hours on that trip up to think about what he's doing. This excuse that he didn't really know or wasn't thinking clearly, it's not true, because he had ample time to consider his plan and what he was going to do when he was there. And this time, when he gets there, he's not going to feed his obsession just by going through her school items or looking at her poetry. He's going to do things so that he can be physically close to her, being in the house, taking her items so that he can have a little piece of her when he goes back to Pennsylvania. He's going to put a tracker on her car so that he can know her every move and try to access her phone so he can know what she's up to. And the minute that he gets to Somersworth, New Hampshire, everything he does from that point on is an effort to achieve those goals or to cover his tracks so that no one finds out what he's doing. And when you walk through what he did during that 3-day time frame, that becomes abundantly clear. First, he goes when it's dark out. He's there at 3 or 4 a.m. when he knows that he's got the best chances of not being seen. He pries open the windows, but he knows that that's not going to be a long-term plan. He can't keep prying open windows and obviously get caught. And so he develops a plan in order to get the key so that he can come and go and have unfettered access to Rachel's belongings as he pleases. So he waits, either in the attic or the unfinished part of the house. It's pretty unclear, but he is so desperate to get that key that he is waiting in her house until Victoria comes down and makes the keys available to him. He comes out of his little hut.
She makes the keys. She just leaves them, and then he snatches them to make a copy. Okay.
Okay, here's my thing. As maybe I've watched way too much true crime, but if I felt like someone was stalking me, I'd be checking windows every day. I'd be very concerned about security. If you're prying windows open with a toolbar, I mean, there's going to be scratch marks and things like that. And my guess is if he learned how to pick locks on the internet, there's also going to be signs on the locks of him trying to do stuff.
Mm.
So I don't know. Now, maybe it's just me because I have watched way too much true crime, but that seems like something that
Yeah. By this time, they have been going on at it and had sex at one time, and then he got weird. This is really strange.
yeah. Well, and then how does he I guess we'll have to wait to see the diagrams, but I don't understand how the attic makes sense that he can hide, but the unfinished part of the house and then
Is it a mansion of sorts? I mean,
I
is
I
it a
mean,
whole
yeah, I'm not
50,000 square feet stuff house, or is it a little house? Yeah, you can't just hide in an unfinished part of a house. That's still the house.
Yeah, it's not making a whole lot of sense here yet. And I know I just looked up New Hampshire's a two-party consent state, so he would get in trouble if he recorded her
Yeah.
without
Mm. Yeah, but yeah. Let's keep going and see where she goes.
Hole, grabs them, waits a little bit longer, waits until they leave, then goes and starts taking photographs of their modem, and goes back out and makes a copy of that key. He waits until they're sleeping yet again, sneaks back in and puts the keys under the kitchen island. But on that occasion, he's not just there to replace the key. Again, he wants to be around her and get her items, and he's around her items and her for over 2 hours in her house, in her attic, in her bedroom. And what is he doing? Stealing her underwear, taking pictures from Victoria's room of Rachel. He creeps back out, and as soon as he's gone, he's plotting his return. He gets breakfast, and he returns to the house with a substantial amount of food, because this time when he goes back, he knows he could be there for a while, and he needs sustenance. So he waits until she's gone, he knows that she's left, goes back with his breakfast, and truly starts to treat the house as if it were his own. Wandering around, taking photographs of her bedroom, videos of the hallway, again, so that he can go back to Pennsylvania and he can look back through this and feel closer to Rachel. And he can look at what her house looks like and imagine himself there. He takes, on that occasion, the red bathing suit from the bottom of her floor, you can see it in that picture, and leaves the food in the attic so that he can go back to it later. He goes and purchases the tile at 9:45 p.m. so that when he comes back, he can plant it on her belongings. But then something happens. After he leaves Target to purchase that tile at around 9:44, Rachel reaches out to him and she texts him and she's drunk, and he knows that she's drunk. And when Rachel's drunk, one thing he knows is that she's nice to him. So here's this interesting kind of twist.
Well, that's not unusual.
Planned on bringing him into her house, but now he's here, and now Rachel might be interested in seeing him. So he has a decision to make. Does he tell her at that point that he's here and forego the burglary, or does he continue on with his plan? It's simply too tempting. He can't help it. And he tells her, for a couple hours, what would you do if I were here? She agrees, and he sees her, but they only see each other for 30 minutes, and then she sends him on his way, yet again. He doesn't get to have sex with her. And afterwards, she kind of does this 180. You'll see, you saw in the messages where she starts to get mad at him, say, don't ever come here again. I don't know what gives you the right to think you can come to my mother's house. And here he is.
Wait, it's her mom's house?
With Rachel mad at him, and this compulsion, this need to be around her and see her. So he does the same thing he does the other 2 times that Rachel's not speaking to him. When things aren't going his way, and he breaks in. He's got his key copy, but now he still needs to get into her phone. Finish that part of the plan. He knows Rachel's drunk. He knows she's probably not going to wake up, but he calls her just for good measure to make sure that even that sound of her phone going off isn't going to do that. He waits for her to be asleep, and again, he breaks in. He covers the tile and tape so that it can't be detected, and he tries to figure out how to get her phone. He told you that the phone, which was in her bedroom, he picked up and was trying and attempting to unlock for a series of incorrect passcodes. He Googles, can a drunk person tell you something if you convince them? And then some other guy starts calling her, and he's so possessive and obsessed that thinks he has the right to know who this person is that he calls this number from a blocked number and takes note not only of the number but of the individual, the guy, so he can keep track of the information. He's wandering around her house for over 2 hours, and halfway through takes a picture and photograph of her vagina. And to try to pretend that he did.
What? I'm trying to type something, and all I hear is how deeply is she asleep drunk?
Yeah, that's dangerously drunk sleep if you don't wake up through
I
that.
mean, unless you're an incredibly I'm an incredibly light sleeper, so all of this is outside of my scope of being, but I guess there are people that sleep very deeply.
Um,
You know, I could almost have given him, that sort of socially awkward, but then this comes up and I'm like, "Okay, sir." My extension of my benefit of the doubt. It's a little bit off.
yeah, okay, no, but this is still. Now I'm starting to see like burglary, maybe. But the fact that this doesn't count as stalking in New Hampshire?
Maybe it's stalking by another name. Because maybe invasion of privacy is their, version of stalking. I don't know. My legal degree from the Letitia Stout University of Online Fakery is on its way.
Yeah, I have to look that up. No, there is a stalking law in New Hampshire.
Oh, well, then I mean, he's getting so I'm guessing a tile is like a mobile, GPS thing. So he attached that to something of hers. He's taken her stuff, and now he's, trying to get into her phone. Why wouldn't that count as stalking?
Okay, invasion of privacy is the misdemeanors are not as serious as stalking. Yeah, but if I heard all of this, not anything about the OnlyFans and the sex thing, this is well beyond stalking.
Okay.
If I didn't know anything, well, now I only know from the defense closing argument this with she wanted to be stalked, but now Miss Page here says there is no such texts, whether it's expression, I want you to stalk me. But
Yeah, it's becoming harder and harder for me to explain this away as socially awkward.
yeah. Yeah, this is strange.
All right,
Yeah.
let's see what else he did other than the.
All of these things, because it was something that Rachel wanted, is truly preposterous. First and foremost, when he is arrested, he mentions nothing about that to Officer Lefebvre, about this being some kind of consensual thing. He says that she had invited him over earlier, but then actively tries to delete messages in front of Officer Lefebvre, likely the ones where Rachel's saying, "Don't ever come here again." And the idea that she would want this or somehow be happy that it was happening follows the logic that she would have eventually had to know. And the defendant is actively trying to cover up his steps to make sure she does not find out. And the reason he's doing that is because he wants to keep spying on Rachel, going in and out of her house, and not upsetting her, because he knows that doing this would upset her. Remember, he never told her about the January 20th burglary, and he was never intending to tell her about that or about the February burglaries, because he was not trying to make her happy. He was trying to feed his own interests. Keep in mind, when she's actively asking him in January 8th, "Hey, I just want to make sure you're not here because my door looks weird, and I wanted to make sure you didn't break in or something."
Okay, so she did
He doesn't
notice
say,
tool
"Oh,
marks.
I'm sorry, I thought you liked that," or, "Well, doesn't that make you happy?" He actively lies and tries to pretend like he's in Pennsylvania saying things like, "I'm at work." And when he
Okay,
doesn't finally
ADHD
tell her
me is
that he
actively
is in town
imagining the
every
Hallmark
day,
cards
he never
like,
says
I
anything,
stalk you
having
because I
arrived the day
love you.
before. In fact, he says, "Don't be mad, but what would you do if I were here right now?" If this is something that he thought that she truly wanted, he would not have to preface that
We went out for a
with,
walk
"Don't be
yesterday.
mad."
She didn't notice it.
And his reaction,
I took a picture of you
when Rachel
naked.
wakes up and sees
Don't
him,
you feel
is not to
loved?
stay and say, "Hey, aren't you happy I'm here? I'm playing that sexual stalker game that you wanted." It's to run up the stairs into the attic, cut a hole in the screen, and go out to the window and go out onto the roof in his bare socks. The defendant knew what he was doing was unwanted and that it was wrong, which is why he lied to the officers about why he broke in and why he's continued to lie to them when confronted with facts that directly refute his story. We also know that he knew that this was wrong because he apologized for it. He wrote a lengthy apology note to Rachel where he never once says, "I thought this was something that you would like." It was, "I don't know why I did this. I am so stupid." And goes on to say that this was a scary thing for you, and I know that you'll hate me. And he tells Detective Sutherland in the clearest of terms, when asked, "Did she ever tell you to come in? Did she ever tell you to break in?" He says no. Nothing about this defense makes sense. Nothing about it fits with the actual facts of the case. And the only one that's actually saying it is the defendant, who has lied about everything in order to minimize his own culpability. What he's doing is twisting and capitalizing on something that Rachel said in passing and asking you to take it in the most literal sense. Because doing so benefits him and is the only way he can counter all of the overwhelming evidence that he broke into her house without her knowledge. And what was it that she said? "I like that you're so obsessed with me, and how come you're not obsessed with me anymore?" That is hyperbole. If you're feeling frustrated and you say to a friend, "Just kill me now," it does not give that friend permission to kill you. And when
That's
she
how I
said
almost
these
got
things, "I like that
convicted."
you're obsessed with me," or "Why aren't you so obsessed with me anymore?" Keep in mind, all she knew is that this was a guy that was sending her gifts, sending her money, sending her some gifts, and showering her with compliments and admiration. She had no idea that he was breaking in and out of her home. For someone who had bad experiences with men and incredibly low self-esteem, that kind of behavior, the gifts, the admiration, it probably felt very nice.
Okay, so, I can't imagine if you're putting nude pictures of yourself up that you've had incredibly good experience with men.
Yeah, but the OnlyFans girl, isn't that the whole point of an
Yeah,
OnlyFans account, to have men sending stuff to you?
yeah, I don't understand. This goes a lot into what I will tell my girls, but there's, you know, a reason that some behaviors are dating behaviors and then some behaviors attract people that are looking for wives, if you get my meaning.
Mm.
Um, if you are fishing with that sort of lure, you might not get the most, I guess,
Sta
adult.
marriage material.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
she went into this expecting money for naughtiness. When she got it, it seems like she was okay with the gifts, just not the stalking, which I totally get, 'cause
Yeah.
but it just seems weirdly weird.
Yeah, but I can understand the burglary thing, is because, yeah, that is a, a bit beyond. And I do understand that, even though she was leading him on as OnlyFans, and they did have sex,
Yeah,
but that
that's
doesn't. Yeah, but at one point it goes beyond that. So burglary, yeah,
I can
yeah,
get
I see.
burglary, I just
Mm.
I have to say that if you are a if you are a very socially awkward young man, I don't know that this culture is easy for you to distinguish between these sort of relationships. Uh, and this could be just, it's a more of a cultural thing, but eh, he went beyond the pale as far as his awkward declarations of love, but I also find a little bit of fault on her part for leading him on, probably knowing that he's incredibly socially awkward.
Yeah, because my limited knowledge about OnlyFans is they never see any of the people.
Yeah, I
Or m- yeah, you in the chat who are
yes,
frequent on OnlyFans,
all of your
please
dej
describe, all of you who are frequently on OnlyFans watching at women undress themselves.
or
Please
men or
explain.
furries, whichever you
Yeah,
prefer.
yeah, bathtub. I don't. I have no idea.
I
I
yeah,
mean,
it
I'm not
seems
a
odd
prude
that
or
he
anything. It's just, it's not. Why would I want to pay for it when a couple of times a week?
well, my thing
My
is how did he get her address in the first place for them to meet up? Was this something that he sussed out through hackery tricks, or is it something that she gave him? That doesn't excuse the later burglary. I'm sorry, you're freeloading degenerates. You have a coupon code, which hey, as a clearance buyer of all the things, congrats.
Mm. And for you who are out in the dating scene, bringing coupons to the restaurant is a bad idea. Just general, yeah,
Unless you're trying to attract a Mo type woman, then she's like, "You coupon?" And
yeah,
these are
yeah. And for you women out there, if you are looking for a normal dude, a buffet counts as a date, right?
yes.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a buffet, in my opinion. I
Eh,
mean, you get to eat until you're full.
hey,
Um,
it works. You don't go home hungry at least.
yeah. And it's like, what's the difference between me at 240 and me at 260? That depends on which end of the buffet I am.
Yeah, well, and so Tootly Pip makes a good point. Like I am mowing the deep because I'm not actively trying to put my name out there.
Mm,
Um and that's a lot because of my kids too. There are
mm,
crazy people on the internet, and eh,
mm,
I'm sure any sort of easy level of computer hackery that I can't do, you can figure out who I am, but at least there's that.
yeah. And if I had started my channel now, I might have used a different name than my own. But at the other hand, if someone, I live a bit remotely and I have farm tools and I have land.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I mean, I live in rural Indiana.
Mm,
You don't. We just saw that case where some people came up trying to start shenanigans and got
mm,
stabbed for it.
mm.
So yeah, this is a weird one because I could almost argue both points. Uh, to a certain degree. I mean, him getting a crowbar. Uh,
Is this your card? Oh, oh
All
well.
right, let's see what she's gonna say more.
Yeah, yeah. Trial.
And that's, when she says it, what she's looking for. More of that. She is not looking for the defendant to break into her attic, to come down, take videos of her vagina, and to creep back up and be in her attic. She did not ask for that.
She said it
She didn't want
again.
that. No
We're
woman
okay with
would
it
want
just
that.
once.
And the defendant knew it.
Are
He
those
didn't act
in
sus with her
evidence?
because she gave him the idea or thought that she wanted it.
For
He was
science, we need
already
to see the
obsessed with her, and she did not know what he was capable of when she did it.
We are not allowed to stream together.
No,
Another thing the defense is hoping to capitalize on
there
is
needs
that
to
he
be
can either
someone
get
to
you to
control
not
us.
like Rachel or feel upset
David,
by
where
the
are
way
you?
that you treated him, so much so that you ignore this glaring evidence of guilt. Now, Rachel is not
Do we
a
know how
perfect
long
victim,
they
certainly,
deliberated?
and I'm not here to make excuses for the things that she did or try to get you to like her.
I
Because the thing is, you do not have to like her. The law protects
That's it.
everyone, even the people
It
who
went
don't like her.
over 1 day at
And
least,
leading her on,
from one
Okay.
day to another, but
going
I
back and
don't
forth
know
on
the
him,
amount of hours.
texting, toxic, or maybe even praising messages at times does not give the defendant the right to break into her house and hide in her attic. What she did was not a crime. The defendant did was. Keep in mind, there are also 2 other people living in this house, Victoria, the homeowner, and a toddler, Weston. And they certainly did not deserve to not feel safe in their home.
Okay, well, that's where you lost me, dude.
Yeah. So a toddler, I assuming it's her toddler. Maybe it's a very young. Her mother is very young, or
I was 17 when my mom had my sister, so
yeah. Okay, yeah, and my older sister, between my older sister and my youngest brother, it's 21 years.
yeah. So if she had lived alone, and I think this particular states she's she's getting over some uncomfortable facts. I mean,
Mm,
I think right away you're going to get turned off. At least she's she's using the bad facts and she's
mm,
getting them out there while also saying,
mm,
"Look, yeah, you don't have to like her. You don't have to like what
yeah,
she does or how she acts,
mm,
but she didn't break the law." So that's
yeah.
a good
I'm
job, I
just
think.
yeah. Okay, it seems she's almost done of sorts because here I see the judge. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So let's finish her off.
Now, I want to talk for a minute about the charges in this case. The defendant is charged with criminal trespass for breaking in on January 20th, which we know because he takes again that photo of the poem at 3 a.m. He also has a video of him attempting to get through the window. And the only way he could have taken a photo of that home is to be physically present in the barn at that time. Now that break-in is distinguishable from the others in February in that we have no evidence that once he was in that house, he was committing any sort of crime. And that's the difference between criminal trespass and burglary. Well, the rest of the charges, the ones from February, those are all burglaries. That's a lot of in and out, in and out, in and out. And I wanted to clarify that with you guys.
I missed that. Let's move back
Yeah.
a few seconds. I wasn't clear on what you said.
I
Criminal
can-
trespass and burglary. Well, the rest
Okay.
of the charges, the ones from February, those are all burglaries. That's a lot of in and out, in and out, in and out. And I wanted to clarify that with you
At
guys.
least once it was.
I know the dates and the times can be a little bit confusing. So burglary, as the judge will read to you, is entering unlawfully or remaining unlawfully.
This is why I can't go to the hardware store with my husband because of the pipe and the caulk
violation of privacy or theft.
Yeah,
You do not
the
have to be
nails.
unanimous on which of those crimes he
screwing
intended.
and yeah.
Only that
Yes.
at some point he develops the intent to commit one. We also do not have to prove that the crimes were ultimately completed. Now theft is a little self-explanatory.
He didn't finish?
A violation of privacy you might not be as familiar with, and there are a few different legal variations of that.
Sorry, Nick, you had a wonderful channel.
Excuse me, through a few of
You
them.
invited me on. I
The
don't
judge will
know.
also do this. But violation of privacy can be using a device to photograph or record or transmit images
Yeah,
or sounds.
can we
in private
rewind
places.
because she had a
No.
difference between burglary and
Hmm.
the other thing.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back.
The intent to commit one. We also do not have to prove that the crimes were ultimately completed.
I think it's a
Theft
little
is
bit before this.
self-explanatory, not to prove the commit. To you because it's trespass and burglary.
Okay, here.
Well, the rest of
just
the charges, the ones from February. And that's the theory in that we have no evidence that once he was in that house, he was committing any sort of crime. And that's the difference between criminal trespass and burglary. Well, the rest of the charges, the ones from February, those are all burglaries. That's a lot of in and out, in and out, in and out. And I want to kind of clarify that with you guys because I know the dates and the times can be a little bit confusing. So burglary, as the judge will read to you, is entering unlawfully or remaining unlawfully in a home with the purpose to commit a crime. The crime in these charges alleges either violation of privacy or theft. You do not have to be unanimous on which of those crimes he intended to commit. Only that at some point he develops the intent to commit one. We also do not have to prove that the crimes were ultimately completed. Now theft is a little self-explanatory. A violation of privacy you might not be as familiar with, and there are a few different legal variations of that, so I'm just going to go through a few of them. And the judge will also do this. But violation of privacy can be using a device to photograph or record or transmit images or sounds in a private place without consent. It can also be using a device to photograph or record a person's private body parts under their clothing without their consent. Or it can be for the purpose of arousing or gratifying sexual desire, viewing another person without their knowledge and consent. So for the initial entry, on February 7th,
We are not allowed this.
That's what
Why
we
does
go
she
to
keep
initially
saying
steal.
things?
so for that burglary, he had either the intent to steal keys, but he's also photographing a modem. So that would be a violation of privacy for that initial entry.
I did not expect
Of course,
it.
we know he confesses to this on his phone.
Okay, so
For the evening
are any
burglary,
of these being charged as sexual crimes since they are private parts that is he going to have to be on a registry?
I have no idea. I honestly have no idea. I don't burglary, trespassing, invasion of privacy, illegal recording. I'm not.
Okay.
I don't know if any of those are considered sexual crimes in New Hampshire.
It would seem on the voyeuristic aspect, like if, say, they found someone that had set up a camera in a dressing room, that would, the way I understand things, that would seem like a sexual crime to me, but I don't write the laws. And no one has elected me because
Yeah,
this mouth.
yeah. Did the verdict happen? Yes, we covered it in the beginning of this stream. About 15 minutes in, I believe, I started covering. We are going backwards. We are going verdict, closing arguments, and tomorrow we will begin with the defendants, because I don't want to watch the entirety and then go and then finish off with the defense. because I really want to hear his testimony directly tomorrow. And then we
Yeah.
will go back and listen to all the evidence parts. All the parts that are in there. Oh, God.
This is the wrong trial. We should have picked something like the Joel Guy Jr. trial.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Okay, so she's
That's
going
when he,
through.
Comes back, re-enters, takes the key, returns the key, and at that point, taking underwear from the hallway. So that's the fact. On February 8th through the 9th, the 2 burglaries from that day. The first is after he returns from McDonald's, and he's upstairs videoing the upstairs hallway. That's a violation of privacy. Steals a bathing suit, a theft, and in the evening, when he returns, takes the video of her vagina, violation of privacy.
She just keeps saying it.
So those are the 4 burglary charges. Now the defense wants you to really double down on this intent issue. What was his intent when he was in the home? In order to prove burglary, we have to prove that he either entered the home with the intent to commit a crime,
He stole
or
graham
remained
crackers.
there unlawfully, formed an intent, and remained there in order to commit a crime. So if he's there for some sort of unlawful reason that he has no intent to commit a crime, he is still guilty of burglary if at some point during his entry, or sorry, some point during the time he's there, he decides to commit a crime and stays there in order to do so. And we know he did this because he's there for a prolonged period of time and he's committing several crimes, several thefts and violations of privacy. Now, defense wants you to hold him accountable for criminal trespass, and that's for a reason. It's a less serious crime. But the defendant did some incredibly egregious things when he broke into Rachel's home. And he needs to be held accountable, and it's your job to hold him accountable for the crime that he actually committed, and not some watered-down version of it. I said in my opening that the defendant went from being attracted to infatuated and to obsessed with Rachel. It is what happened. It is demonstrated in his escalating behavior, where over the course of 3 months, he goes from sending expensive gifts to driving long distances to breaking in and filming her and stealing her belongings. He's getting more and more frustrated by the fact that his relationship isn't working out with Rachel, and this is his solution to feeding that obsession. These break-ins were not some sort of consensual thing, but were done at times when Rachel was blowing him off and he was feeling desperate. Rachel leading him on may have not helped to prevent what happened, but it's certainly not an excuse, and it's certainly not a defense. What she did, whatever she did not deserve what happened to her, and her mother and son especially did not deserve what happened to them.
I couldn't
Okay,
have
so
been
it was
more in
Rachel's-
this case.
Responsible for the crimes that he committed,
Yeah.
and I ask you to find him.
So the toddler is the victim's son, is what
Okay.
it seems like. But they
Mm.
live with her mother.
Mm. Where did she do the OnlyFans thing?
Please tell me mom wasn't like her promoter, because I
Oh.
just. You know how you get those Christmas letters, like, from families, and you kind of have to church up what your family's been doing? I always imagine the Christmas letter like, "Well, Kaylee's got a lucrative career. She's in internet, sales."
Yeah. Uh, yeah, in and out, and she was blowing him off. I mean,
It
Jesus Christ, lady, you need to listen to what you're saying.
also, those of us with 12-year-old,
Yeah.
senses of humor, we just can't. This is why I'm glad I wasn't on the jury, because I'd have been like, "Your Honor, I know this is serious, but this is also, can you tell her to stop? We need a cease and desist now."
Yeah. Oh.
Guilty.
Do we know what he
4 counts
does
of
for a
burglary,
job that he's got
1
all
count
this
of
money
criminal
to give her?
trespass, and 2 counts of violation.
I have no idea.
Thank you very much. for your time.
Thank you.
Let's see.
Members of the jury, the evidence and arguments in this case have been completed. I will now instruct you as to the law that applies, and you will then
Well, that
retire
haircut's
to
a
decide
choice.
verdict in the charges before you.
Yeah, so
That was made.
Yeah. So that was the closing arguments. Yeah.
I don't know that I like New Hampshire's the defense starts first and then the prosecution ends.
Mm.
I I guess I've gotten used to the prosecution, defense, prosecution kind of.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not too fond of that situation either, because if it is the prosecution that has all of the burden of proof, then in my mind, in my opinion, the defense should be the one who ends it.
Yeah, that's kind of my thing, but
Mm.
every state's gonna be different, and
Mm.
like I said, this is an interesting case because I can kind of see where he, to a certain point,
Mm.
could be confused because she is going back and forth, and
Mm.
I get that he broke a law and she didn't, but it's a hard one to kind of figure out. I mean,
Yeah.
I would say morally more so than legally, because legally he broke the lock picking and,
Yeah.
videotaping her when she "Ma'am, you have a son. You should not be so drunk that someone can take naked pictures of you."
Yeah, but that's the moral part of it. And if she chooses to have an OnlyFans page and it's lucrative, go right ahead. But m- a- actively meeting with the clients,
Well,
then
that's
it's in my head that goes from like what do you call it? She went from cam girl to accepting money for activity.
business
Yeah.
enterprises. Yeah, it's really let's let's just go ahead and put it out there. They're both assholes, okay?
Yep.
So, and unfortunately, it's legal to be one, so
Mm. Yeah, and so morally, there are quite a bit of moral corruption going on, and
yeah,
but then you went over the edge with the breaking in stuff. So
yeah.
I understand the convictions,
The only
but
thing that makes me really giggle is that he stole graham crackers, and graham crackers were invented by a Quaker to stop immoral sexual desires.
yeah, it's like cornflakes. Well, Mr. Kellogg dude who thought that if you feed people boring stuff, they become boring and will stop self pleasure. And yeah, uh, I don't think that worked. But I also I saw a very side yeah, an interesting documentary about that Dr. Kellogg, and he was evil, pure evil. He actively circumcised girls and boys to prevent them from having, because
But
he believed that there was only one thing that intercourse, and that was to produce babies. You're not supposed to pleasure.
which is why I only have 6 kids.
Yep.
It it does it's I'm beginning to get very irritated with, law and C word about how
Mm,
they sensationalize things.
mm,
The Zachariah Anderson case, I
mm.
didn't follow because, that's actually the name of my late husband, and when they call him Zach, I'm fine with it, but it's the Zachariah that I'm like, "I'm out."
Okay, yeah.
But watching the sentencing, it I would never in my life Judge Schroeder seems to have aged about as well as, our current resident in chief.
Yeah, and at trial, he was if from the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, and then about a year later, this trial. Was it? No? When was the Rittenhouse trial? 2021.
Yeah,
2 years
so
later. Yeah.
yeah, it's a marked decline, and then he went all Abe Simpson going on different tangents of what the parole board and the government decides.
Yeah. That was yeah. And I was watching Jeff's stream, and yeah, I agree. I lost all the little respect I had for him disappeared.
Having not I'll have to go back and watch the
Mm,
case now to see all the shenanigans,
mm,
but what worries me is that we are getting these prosecutors, and if you are a normie like I was
mm,
before you got this, I went into law tube,
mm,
you automatically assume that the state would have nothing to gain by bringing a political scalp, if you will, to the
mm.
table.
Yeah, my theory is that the prosecution's office were so furious with the Rittenhouse trial, but they learned that they can't bring forward concrete evidence because those can be debunked. So in this trial, they were so vague intentionally, in my opinion. And instead of producing a timeline and producing everything to the jury to decide, they left the jury with, please fill in the holes for us. And
Yeah.
sadly, they did.
It is hard when you appeal to emotions. That's what I didn't like about the Brandon Castiglione case, was them, like, flashing the picture and appealing to emotion.
Mm,
I would much rather deal with facts. Give me the facts, and in that case, I mean, it was going to be a miraculous hurdle jumping to deal with
mm,
the fact that you were in the room with Colonel
mm.
Mustard and the candlestick.
Yeah.
It was gonna be a hard sell, but the fact that they didn't test anything would give me a lot of pause.
Yeah, especially since I was listening to the closing argument that there was communications between the lead investigator and the prosecutor said, "Don't test that." And for me, the instant a prosecutor says, "Don't test it,"
That's what I wanna
and
see.
yeah, I want to see why. Yeah, yeah, that's really strange. But yeah, today we watched the sentencing, and according
Okay.
to my papers, he was convicted of 2 counts of burglary, 3 counts of trespassing. As far as I can remember, he was not guilty of invasion of privacy, but I have to go back and look to that because I know Mads says he was convicted of it. And then illegal recording he was convicted of. So I have to go back
Yeah.
and watch that bit again once we are done. We are over 2 hours, so now
Okay.
now we can start cursing.
So,
Uh,
do we
mm.
know the sentences for those, or
The sentencing part will be on a later date, and I don't know when. I do read an article that he was released on bail meanwhile. So
I can
yeah,
kind of get that. Bail and being left out on your own, you have to pay the court every day,
mm,
with your geolocator, so it's kind
mm,
of a money thing, so
mm, yeah. But yeah, and so we watched the defense closing, and that was really interesting to then hear the prosecution because okay, now I get it where we went, maybe why it wasn't, why they never put in a stalker,
yeah,
uh, but that's still weird.
it's a very odd case, and I wanna see those text messages because I feel like that will give us some kind of idea
Mm.
of how maybe as
Okay.
us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Court TV says there were 2 invasion charges and 1 conviction and 1 acquittal. Okay, so we were both right, me and Mads. I just
Sounds
missed the other
good.
one. Yeah. Okay. So maybe they chose the invasion of privacy instead of stalking just because all of the leading on stuff, and they got one
It could
conviction
be,
and one. Yeah.
yeah, it could be hard, and they have a New England isn't as puritanical as it used to be, but you still have that sort of bad set of facts that, you know, she is for all intents and purposes, a cam model. So you're going to have a certain segment of the population who's going to already be prejudiced against that. Then
Mm,
you have the fact that they were intimate and she did lead him on. And
mm,
so it makes sense that they didn't try to go for that. Now, the
mm.
victim impact statements are going to be
This woman is a very good woman. She provides for her son by showing her veggie for men on
no
internet.
shame if that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
It, would I want my girls to do it? No. Do I have a problem with you doing it? No. I can be a little bit less puritanical if I am in no
Mm,
way related to you.
yeah. Yeah. Well, tomorrow will be interesting. I will try to start roughly at the same time around when did I start today?
I
2 hours ago. At 6 p.m. my time, which will be
so about noonish?
noonish your time.
Yeah, I should be free.
Yeah.
The kids are all at school now. This is the
Mm,
first year that that's happened in
yay.
16 years.
Yeah, that's good.
God knew I would be too powerful, so he had to cripple me a little bit.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I will invite you tomorrow as well.
Sounds good. Use the email because
Yeah.
I did not want to join Twitter. Twitter seems like a fate almost
Cesspool.
worse than so I'm doing the Joel Guy Jr. trial and I'm trying to come up with
Mm,
cruel and unusual punishments because he's just ticking me off that much. He is such a boil on the taint of humanity
mm.
that refuses to be lanced. So the crime or the punishments that I've come up with so far is being forced to watch all of the Sharknado movies. I've found out to my terror that there are like 10, I believe. Sh
Yeah, and there are spin-offs as well, like with piranhas or
I don't
something.
know, but he has to watch all of those on a loop
Mm.
while listening to Nickelback.
Oh, that's cruel. Wouldn't you rather put him in the electric chair?
Well, it's either that or Zydeco music, and I understand that he's
Yeah.
I'm a whole
Experimental
lot
jazz is an interesting.
I love music, but jazz, I'm too type A. I need your song to effing stop at some point. I need it to happen.
Yeah. In the 90s, my then girlfriend took me to a jazz club, and I thought that could be fun. I've been listening a bit to Louis Armstrong and stuff like that. No, experimental jazz. So this drummer who only played the crash cymbal, a guitar player of sorts, and a bass player of sorts, none of them played the same tune, which sometimes can be fun. But then all of a sudden, a guy with a trombone showed up, but he picked off that thing you uh, you blow into,
The
and just
mouthpiece.
the mouthpiece, and just blew into the actual pipe and made noises. And she was, this is good. And
No,
I'm sitting there
that
like,
is a
there's
runaway,
not
and
there's not an amount of alcohol on earth. So the our relationship ended shortly after that, and yeah.
yeah,
But I'm glad she
that's
took me
a
on one, so I knew what I was in for. And no, I'm not in for that. No, no, no,
eh,
no.
yeah, so those are my current, punishments for him.
Mm. Well, let's send off the
Okay.
chat with my outro so we can end there. Oh, Mo,
Yes.
Grift, your channel.
Oh, hi, I'm Mo in the Deep End, and I am just learning the internet. This is the year of doing all the things that scare me, and tech is a big hurdle for me. So am watching trials now. I learned how to do the StreamYard, and we are on the Joel Guy Jr. trial right now. And I basically just make fun of him and call his face mask thing the cone of shame. But if you like to listen to trials and me make fun of people because I'm hilarious, then come over.
Yeah, so go subscribe to Mo, and yeah, if you haven't subscribed to me yet, please do.
Subscribe to
And,
everyone.
Subscribe to everyone. Subscribe to David and stuff like that. And I'll see you all to.
Oh, and if you would all like to see my Judge Schroeder gets the dick of the trial video that will be coming out probably tomorrow.
Ah.
Every trial has a dick of the trial or a dick of the day, depending on if it's live or not. So
Good to know. Good to know.
we're past 2 hours.
We're past 2 hours. Yeah. Chat, thank you for being here again. And I'm playing the outro and ending the broadcast. And yeah, and I'll see you all tomorrow at around 6 o'clock my time, noonish most time tomorrow, the day after in Australia or something like that. See you all tomorrow. Have a nice day.